Hello, and welcome to Books Marist. Picture this. You're driving home from work, lost in thought, and suddenly realize you've arrived at your doorstep with no memory of the drive. Or maybe you've caught yourself reaching for your phone to check social media, not out of need but out of habit. These moments highlight the invisible force steering much of our daily lives: habits. In Charles Duhigg's The Power of Habit, he unravels the science behind why we do what we do. He shows us that habits aren't just routines. They are powerful, neurological loops that dictate up to 40% of our daily actions. Understanding and reshaping these loops can unlock transformative potential in our personal lives, workplaces, and even entire societies. So, buckle up as we dive deep into this fascinating exploration of human behavior. Chapter 1. The Habit Loop: How Habits Work. Every habit starts as a simple neurological loop. Cue, routine, reward. This is the foundation upon which Duhigg builds his analysis. The chapter opens with the story of Eugene Pauly, a man who lost the ability to form new memories after a bout of viral encephalitis. Despite his condition, Eugene could perform complex tasks like finding his way around his neighborhood or preparing breakfast. How? His brain had hardwired these actions into habit loops stored in the basal ganglia, bypassing the need for conscious thought. Duhigg explains the three components of a habit. 1. Cue, the trigger that initiates the habit. This could be a location, time of day, emotional state, or even the presence of certain people. 2. Routine, the action or behavior itself, which can be physical, mental, or emotional. 3. Reward, the payoff or benefit you experience, which reinforces the habit. Take the example of grabbing a cookie at 3 p.m. every day. Cue, the time of day or the feeling of an afternoon slump. Routine, walking to the cafeteria and buying a cookie. Reward, the satisfaction of eating something sweet, which temporarily alleviates fatigue. Over time, your brain stops participating in decision-making for this habit. It simply recognizes the cue, initiates the routine, and anticipates the reward. This automation is what makes habits so powerful and so difficult to break. Duhigg underscores this with a profound insight. Habits never really disappear. They're encoded into the structures of our brain. Even when we consciously try to overwrite them, the old loops remain dormant, ready to resurface under the right conditions. If you want to change a habit, you must identify its loop. What triggers the behavior? What is the routine? And what reward are you seeking? Once you have this blueprint, you can start experimenting with substituting a new routine while keeping the same cue and reward. Chapter 2. The Craving Brain: The Force Behind Habits. In this chapter, Duhigg delves into the secret ingredient that transforms mundane actions into powerful habits: cravings. Without craving the reward, a habit won't take root. Cravings create anticipation, making your brain eager for the routine that delivers the reward. Duhigg introduces Claude Hopkins, a legendary marketer from the early 1900s, to illustrate this concept. Hopkins was behind the success of Pepsodent toothpaste, which turned toothbrushing from an occasional chore into a daily ritual for millions. His genius lay in creating a craving for clean teeth. Hopkins' ads emphasized a film on teeth that could be removed by using Pepsodent, promising a dazzling smile as the reward. But there was more to it. Pepsodent's formula included citric acid and mint oils, which left a tingling sensation in the mouth. This sensation became the reward people craved, and brushing turned into a habit. Duhigg explains, cravings are what drive habits, and figuring out how to spark a craving makes creating a new habit easier. He shares how companies engineer habits by tapping into this principle. For example, Febreze initially flopped because it didn't create a craving. Once its marketers added a fresh, pleasant scent as a reward, it became a bestseller because people began craving the satisfaction of a clean-smelling home. The power of anticipation. Cravings don't just make habits stick, they make them automatic. The brain starts anticipating the reward the moment the cue appears. Neuroscientific studies have shown that in habitual behaviors, The brain's reward centers light up before the reward is received during the anticipation phase. Take a personal example. Let's say you're trying to build a habit of exercising. If you associate working out with a tangible reward, like a protein shake or the euphoric feeling of endorphins, your brain will begin to anticipate the reward every time you lace up your sneakers. Over time, the craving for that post-workout reward will drive the habit itself. To create a habit, focus on engineering a craving. Identify a reward that satisfies a deeper need, whether it's relaxation, accomplishment, or enjoyment. Pair that reward with a routine and let your brain do the rest. Chapter 3: The Golden Rule of Habit Change. Transforming Behaviors. Changing a habit might seem daunting, but Duhigg provides a simple yet profound principle. You can't extinguish a bad habit. You can only change it. This chapter introduces the golden rule of habit change. Replace the routine while keeping the same cue and reward. To bring this concept to life, Duhigg tells the story of Tony Dungy, a football coach who turned struggling NFL teams into champions by applying this rule. Dungy didn't try to overhaul his players' strategies all at once. Instead, he drilled them to replace old routines with simpler, faster ones. By making these new routines automatic, he transformed his team's performance. For example, Dungy coached his players to react to cues, like the opposing team's formation, without overthinking. The routine became muscle memory, and the reward was a successful play. Over time, this approach led his teams to unprecedented success. The role of belief. Duhigg emphasizes that changing habits also requires belief, both in yourself and in the possibility of transformation. This is why support systems like Alcoholics Anonymous, AA, are so effective. AA encourages participants to replace their drinking routine with meetings, prayer, or calls to a sponsor while maintaining the same cues, like stress or loneliness, and rewards, relief or connection. The group dynamic reinforces belief, which is essential for long-term success. Duhigg writes, "For habits to permanently change, people must believe that change is feasible. And most often, that belief emerges with the help of a group." If you're trying to change a bad habit, don't focus on eliminating it. Instead, substitute it with a healthier routine while maintaining the cue and reward. Surround yourself with people who reinforce your belief in change, whether through friends, mentors, or support groups. Chapter 4: Keystone Habits. The habits that matter most. Not all habits are created equal. Some hold the power to spark transformative changes across multiple areas of life. Duhigg calls these keystone habits, describing them as the foundation upon which other habits are built. Keystone habits don't just change one behavior. They create a domino effect, shifting entire patterns of thought and action. Duhigg opens with the story of Paul O'Neill, the CEO of Alcoa, a struggling aluminum company. When O'Neill took over, instead of focusing on profits or costs, he prioritized an unusual goal: worker safety. O'Neill's laser focus on making Alcoa the safest company in America seemed odd at first, but it was revolutionary. By improving safety protocols, a keystone habit, the company improved communication, productivity, and innovation, eventually reaching record-breaking profits. Why keystone habits work? Keystone habits work because they reshape how people see themselves and their environment. For example, Duhigg highlights research showing that people who start exercising regularly, a keystone habit, often begin eating healthier, sleeping better, and procrastinating less. Exercise creates a ripple effect because it instills a sense of discipline and a positive identity. I'm the kind of person who takes care of myself. Keystone habits also build small wins, incremental successes that fuel motivation and make larger goals seem achievable. As Duhigg puts it, small wins are a steady application of a small advantage. Once a small win has been accomplished, forces are set in motion that favor another small win. The power of identity. Duhigg explains that keystone habits change your self-image, and this shift can lead to profound transformations. For instance, families who eat dinner together regularly, another keystone habit, tend to have kids with higher grades, better emotional control, and fewer risky behaviors. Why? Family dinners reinforce a sense of connection and stability, which spills over into other areas of life. To create meaningful change, focus on developing a single keystone habit. Ask yourself, what's one habit that could unlock a cascade of improvements? Maybe it's committing to morning exercise, practicing gratitude daily, or tracking your spending. Start small and let the ripple effects unfold. Chapter 5. The Power of Willpower, Strengthening Self-Control. Willpower is often described as the engine behind personal success, but Duhigg argues it's more like a muscle. It can grow stronger with practice, but also fatigues when overused. This chapter explores how willpower, when nurtured and supported, can act as a critical driver for habit formation. The chapter begins with the story of Starbucks, which trains employees to use willpower strategically during challenging customer interactions. Starbucks noticed that employees would often lose their temper with difficult customers, leading to poor service. To combat this, the company developed detailed training programs that taught workers how to respond calmly and efficiently in stressful situations. By rehearsing specific scenarios, employees didn't have to rely solely on willpower. They had routines to fall back on. Willpower as a predictive tool. Research shows that willpower is one of the strongest predictors of success. In the famous marshmallow experiment, children who resisted eating a marshmallow in exchange for a second one later were more likely to succeed academically and socially as adults. These children weren't born with greater willpower. They had learned strategies to distract themselves, like singing or looking away from the treat. Duhigg explains that willpower can be strengthened through deliberate practice. For example, people who practice self-discipline in one area, like sticking to a budget, often find it easier to maintain self-control in other areas. This spillover effect is why focusing on keystone habits is so powerful. They build the muscle of willpower. Avoiding willpower fatigue. However, willpower is a limited resource. Studies reveal that when people spend their energy resisting temptation, they're more likely to give in to other impulses later. This phenomenon, known as ego depletion, explains why someone who spends all day dieting might binge eat at night. To strengthen willpower, start with small, manageable challenges. Plan ahead for situations that test your self-control, and build routines that minimize decision fatigue. For example, lay out your workout clothes the night before, or create preset meal plans to avoid unhealthy choices. Chapter 6. The Habits of Successful Organizations. Systems shape behavior. Organizations, like individuals, have habits. These routines, ingrained in their culture and processes, often determine whether they thrive or fail. Duhigg delves into how companies leverage habits to create success and explores how changing organizational habits can lead to transformative results. The chapter begins with the story of Target's innovative marketing strategies. Target used consumer data to predict life events, like pregnancies, based on shopping habits. By analyzing patterns, e.g., a sudden increase in purchases of unscented lotion or vitamins, the company could send targeted ads for baby products before customers even announced their pregnancies. This strategy, though controversial, highlights the power of habits in consumer behavior. Organizational habits and keystone routines. Duhigg explains that organizations operate on collective habits. He introduces the concept of keystone routines, which shape how employees interact and make decisions. When these routines align with a company's goals, they create a positive feedback loop. However, when they're dysfunctional, they can lead to chaos or stagnation. Consider the example of Rhode Island Hospital, which struggled with poor communication and rigid hierarchies. These institutional habits caused critical medical errors. After a particularly tragic incident, the hospital implemented new routines, such as empowering nurses to challenge doctors. These changes transformed the hospital's culture, reducing errors and improving patient outcomes. Social habits and movements. Duhigg also explores social habits and their role in large-scale change. The civil rights movement, for instance, was driven by social habits that connected communities. Rosa Parks' refusal to give up her bus seat wasn't just an isolated event. It triggered a network of social routines, including church gatherings, community meetings, and marches. Duhigg identifies three components of successful movements. 1. A key habit that sparks the movement. In this case, the collective outrage over Parks' arrest. 2. A sense of community and shared identity. 3. Peer pressure to sustain momentum. These principles reveal that habits, when harnessed collectively, can lead to massive cultural shifts. Whether in organizations or communities, changing habits starts with identifying keystone routines. By reshaping these routines and fostering a culture of empowerment, you can create systems that support success. Chapter 7. The Neurology of Free Will, Taking Responsibility for Habits. In this final chapter, Duhigg raises an important question. Are we truly responsible for our habits? He tells the story of Angie Bachman, a compulsive gambler who lost her life savings. Angie's gambling addiction was driven by powerful habit loops, but her inability to recognize and alter these patterns ultimately led to devastating consequences. Duhigg introduces the concept of awareness as a crucial factor in habit change. While habits operate automatically, recognizing the cues, routines, and rewards that drive them gives us the power to take control. This awareness is the foundation of free will in the context of habits. The chapter also explores legal and ethical dilemmas surrounding habits. For instance, can someone truly be held accountable for actions driven by deeply ingrained habits? The answer, Duhigg argues, lies in the capacity for self-awareness and intentional effort to change. The role of belief and support. Duhigg returns to the importance of belief, both in oneself and in the possibility of change. Without belief, efforts to change habits often falter. This is why support systems, whether through therapy, community groups, or personal relationships, are essential for lasting transformation. Habits may shape our behavior, but they don't define our destiny. By becoming aware of our habit loops and believing in our ability to change, we can take responsibility for our actions and design a better future. Duhigg ends the book with an empowering message. Habits are not fate. They're powerful, but they can be reshaped. By understanding the science of habits, identifying keystone routines, and fostering belief, anyone can transform their life. If the power of habit has shown you how to redesign your life through intentional action, imagine pairing that knowledge with strategies for deep focus and peak productivity. Check out our deep work summary to learn how to thrive in a world full of distractions and truly master your craft. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more life-changing insights. See you in the next video.